You're watching ABC10 Plus This Week.
Hello, I'm Laura Painter. You're watching ABC10 Plus This Week. A new state audit found inconsistencies in the state-funded program for rehabilitating and housing convicted sexually violent predators. Then, in dollars and cents, how a new movement is changing traditional ideas of work and retirement. Plus, we hit the back roads. Our destination, one of the most elaborate corn mazes you've ever seen, and it's just a drive away. ABC 10 This Week starts now.
I'm tired of getting the calls. I think everybody does get them.
Viewer Gary contacted 10 on Your Side saying he's been inundated with robocalls from people trying to get his bank card information. He says the last time he refused to give out the sensitive information, he got quite the surprise.
She went from being a squeaky voice woman to a deep voice guy who then proceeded to curse me out for wasting his time.
Gary and so many others can easily become targets of spoofing. That's where people disguise their phone numbers to make it look like they're calling from a legitimate agency. Here are some simple things you can do to avoid becoming a victim. Listen to this former robocaller.
Spoofing is to call somebody using robo-dialing technology and make it look like the call is coming from Apple Computer or Microsoft, and that they're calling you because you have a credit if you just give them your credit card number.
This is Erie from Apple Support.
They will spoof a caller ID like they're from the IRS, and they will call you and tell you that you have an overdue tax bill of $7,000 and that there's a warrant out for your arrest for non-payment of taxes, but you could settle it today for $500, pennies on the dollar. If you go ahead and send us the money today, we'll close this matter out.
The IRS has now made available new programs.
Robocalls are the #1 complaint at the Federal Trade Commission, which sues violators to pay fines. How do we stop the calls? First, don't answer calls from an unknown number. And if you do, hang up immediately. If you do answer and the caller asks you to hit a button to get more info or stop getting calls, don't do it. The FCC warns it could lead to fraudulent charges. Also, don't respond to any questions, especially with yes or no answers, and never give out personal information. And don't forget, you can also find more tips on our website. Just go to abc10.com/robocalls. Meanwhile, if you have an issue and don't know where else to turn, email me at onyourside@abc10.com. We're just months away from new laws taking effect here in California to tackle retail theft. And today, the Attorney General released a bulletin to law enforcement agencies ahead of the new changes. ABC 10's Alicia Machado has a closer look.
We see it across the state and in our region, retail theft hitting shops large and small. But at the beginning of the new year, new laws will take effect aimed at cracking down on smash and grabs and closing loopholes.
If you break these laws, you will be held accountable.
On Thursday, Attorney General Rob Bonta issued an information bulletin or summary of the new laws to law enforcement agencies in the state, informing them of 10 new organized retail crime bills that were signed into law by Governor Newsom in August.
These 10 laws address gaps that made it more difficult for law enforcement and prosecutors to bring perpetrators to justice.
Among the new policies, legislation that allows for thefts against multiple victims or in multiple counties to be combined. The new laws also allow for stricter penalties, one creating sentencing enhancements for selling stolen property that has a value of $50,000 or more, an effort the AG says is to crack down on smash and grabs. And another law increases penalties for car break-ins and auto theft and creates a new crime for possessing stolen property that was taken during a vehicle theft or unlawful entry of a car.
For perpetrators who are looking to skirt our laws and exploit potential loopholes, those days are over. Those loopholes are closed.
And come November, voters will get their say in the conversation, voting on Prop 36, a ballot measure that allows for felony charges and increased sentences for certain drug and theft-related crimes. In Sacramento, Alicia Machado, ABC 10.
The laws also reduce task force and diversion programs. The CHP says their task force has recovered more than $46 million in stolen merchandise since 2019.
We start tonight with new details about the placement of a sexually violent predator in California. A new state audit is showcasing inconsistencies in the state-funded program for rehabilitating and housing convicted felons. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen joins us live with all the details tonight about this long-awaited state audit.
Well, Alex, the good news is the state auditor did find that the company contracted to rehabilitate sexually violent predators is actually doing its work. The bad news, there's not a clear way to track the work, and the cost just continues to increase by the millions as years go on.
I think we've got some justification for many of the concerns that we've been raising for 6 years on this ConRep program.
Senator Brian Jones has been openly critical of the conditional release program of sexually violent predators. He requested an audit more than a year ago on the Department of State Hospitals and Liberty Healthcare, and on Tuesday, the state auditor released this 52-page report.
This is a public safety issue.
The audit found DSH took an average of 17 months to find proper housing for a conditionally released SVP when state law generally allows for 30 days. But it acknowledged difficulties in finding housing because of negative community reaction.
The report also points out that the state is paying Liberty Healthcare $2,800 a month to find that housing.
The report found the state's spending on the program increased nearly 75%. From 2018 to 2019, the state spent $6.6 million, but the program costs went up in 2022 to 2023 to $11.5 million. More SVPs are being rehabilitated, and other reasons include the rising cost of housing and private security services.
This program specifically, of course, the costs are going to go up because there's no oversight.
Jones points to the audit finding DSH does not have an effective way to track and monitor Liberty Healthcare when implementing policies and procedures. Some of those policies are also out of date, citing Liberty's contraband policy hadn't been updated since 2011. In terms of its effectiveness, the report says 56 people have been in the program since its start in 2003, with 4% of them reoffending.
That's 4% too many, as I've been arguing. These SVPs should never be allowed out of prison.
The auditor recommended DSH to establish state-owned transitional housing, a model that other states like Washington and Texas have implemented. But in response, DSH says it disagrees with that recommendation, believing it wouldn't speed up the process of finding secure housing and would be a target for community protests.
That's a preposterous argument, because right now the way the system works is as soon as a house is proposed, it's in the public and the neighborhood knows about it.
However, DSH agreed to conduct more reviews of Liberty Healthcare, develop a tracking process, and save money by conducting some activities internally.
Now, Jeannie, on top of the responses to the audit's recommendations, I do want to note that the Department of State Hospitals did provide you with an additional response, right?
Alex, the DSH acknowledged the report and says it's doing what it can to comply to the recommendations. Now, overall, the DSH says it will maintain oversight and supervision of Liberty Healthcare and is actively involved in reviewing proposed housing options for those looking to be released. Now, Senator Brian Jones also tells me he'll be working on some additional legislation to ensure the state abides by these findings. And we also reached out to the ACLU, who has openly supported this program, but they have yet to provide ABC 10 with a comment in response to this audit.
Jeannie, thank you so much. And if you would like to read more about the audit, we do have that link on our website, abc10.com. You can go there right now.
In tonight's Dollars and Cents, we're talking FIRE. It means financial independence, retire early. It's a growing movement that's flipping traditional ideas of work and retirement on their head. I talk with a local financial coach about how FIRE can work for you.
Just talking about it has me feeling excited, because I think a lot of times with money and finances, we feel that it's controlling us rather than us controlling it.
That's what FIRE is all about, controlling your spending now to have more to enjoy later. FIRE stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. Like really early. Imagine retiring at 45, even 35, instead of 65.
Folks who really throw everything that they have at this FIRE goal, at the Financial Independence, Retire Early goal, they're usually living very simply.
Sacramento-based financial coach Maureen Paley says FIRE is a commitment that's not always easy, but can be worth the effort.
Maybe they're not vacationing once or twice a year. Maybe they're not buying a new car every 5 years. So there's certain decisions that folks in this community will make so that they keep as much of that disposable income that they have and put it towards investing wisely so that they can leave the workforce early and they can have that financial comfort in the future.
Anyone can live the FIRE lifestyle, and everyone's goals look different. But it all comes down to planning and using investment tools you might already have, like a 401k or index funds.
Their disposable income, which is what's left over after their bills are paid, their housing's paid, so on and so forth, that money is put in the service of growing more money, usually through investments, so that they can get to that goal much quicker.
The difference between being financially savvy and the FIRE approach is the level of aggressiveness. While most people put 10 to 20% of their paycheck in their 401k, FIRE people might put 50 to 70%. We live in a time of temptation when it comes to consumerism, and it sounds like living this FIRE lifestyle is going to take a lot of willpower.
It sure will. It will take a lot of willpower.
But Paley says you can find motivation through the FIRE community, getting inspiration from other people also trying to live the FIRE lifestyle.
When they see what's possible, and I think when they start seeing results after they start taking their first few steps towards that FIRE goal, they get really excited and really motivated.
Fired up, as I like to say. Well, the sooner you start FIRE, the more time you'll have to build up your investments and ride out some market volatility. But there are still a lot of benefits if you put FIRE into practice, even if you're older. So still a lot of takeaways.
That is good to know. I was just going to ask, how does it look for folks maybe closer to retirement age?
Yeah, if you're 55, for example, taking a more conservative approach makes a lot of sense since you don't have much time to ride out that market volatility. Everyone should take a close look at their retirement and what that means for you. Ask yourself, where will you live when you retire? Where will your income come from? Remember, this conversation doesn't end here. If you are part of the FIRE community and trying to retire early or know someone who is, send me an email at lpainter@abc10.com. You can also see all my dollars and cents stories on our free ABC10 Plus streaming app. Find it under the news section. The app is available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV.
As we continue to track the fire danger tonight, local organizations and community groups are prepared to support anyone who might have to evacuate, and that includes housing animals during disastrous situations. Tonight, ABC 10's Becca Habegger shows us how one shelter has been doing the work during a recent major fire and now needs help closing an emotional chapter for a Caldor fire survivor.
During the last fire, we had to use some of this building as overflow because taking in 150 animals, we were at max capacity plus.
Craig Hall is manager and chief of El Dorado County Animal Services, which not only takes strays and surrenders, but also temporarily houses the pets of wildfire evacuees.
During the last fire, we took in 150 over 48 hours, and fortunately that fire was contained pretty quickly, so they all were gone home within probably a week.
The situation was much different during the Caldor fire, which started mid-August 2021, as some people were evacuated for months.
I know we had around 150 dogs. I don't know the exact numbers, and 300 cats. The whole building was full of cats. We had exotic birds.
Marianne Can has been volunteering here for 9 years.
What keeps you coming back?
The success stories. There's some, and I'll cry about that.
She hopes to see success for two dogs named Bentley and Gale.
Bentley and Gale are very special dogs to us because we have known them since 2021 when they came in originally during the Caldor fire.
Caitlin Light is on staff here and says the dog's owner lost his Grizzly Flats home in the fire.
He lost everything.
The dog stayed here for about 2.5 months until the man was able to return to his property. The shelter, with help from donors, connected him with temporary kennels so the dogs could return too. But sadly, the dogs are back at the shelter. The owner died this past July. The shelter declined to share details out of respect for his privacy.
He loved those dogs, so why it's special.
Do you guys want to go for a walk?
Even before the Caldor fire, Bentley had an old injury to his leg. When he returned to the shelter, the injury had worsened. So the staff made the decision to amputate his leg to ultimately save Bentley's life and keep him and Gale together.
Good job.
They're a bonded pair.
They need their forever home.
Every October, something strange happens in the Central Valley town of Lathrop. Like a page out of a Stephen King novel, children from all over California make their way into the corn. They're drawn to this field not because of evil spirits, but because they want to conquer one of California's most elaborately designed corn mazes.
What happens if someone gets lost in here?
Well, the big joke is that we'll just get you out in the morning.
Welcome to Del Oso Farm, the pioneers of corn maze development.
We were one of the very first corn mazes in the nation, actually.
Since 1997, Susan Del Oso and her husband Ron have been transforming this cornfield into challenging themed mazes.
It's about 15 acres and it has 2 mazes in it, and this year we're honoring the 75th anniversary of Peanuts. So you'll see Snoopy on his doghouse.
Coming up with the elaborate designs is the easy part. Getting those designs onto a cornfield, well, it's another story.
Do you guys just have like a giant lawnmower to make this maze? Or?
No, people always assume that we cut it down when the corn is tall, but it doesn't work that way.
Susan says shaping the maze actually starts in July when the corn is just a few inches tall.
When the corn's very small, we mark out the maze and then we hoe it down. So we're just removing very small pieces of corn.
Today, Del Oso Farm uses GPS to plot and paint out the shape of the maze, but when they first started, they used graph paper and tape measures to map out the coordinates.
It was very cumbersome, and we never knew if the design was accurate until we would get an aerial shot.
Of course, the corn maze brought in big crowds, but the heart of the operation was pumpkins.
Can you help me pick a pumpkin?
Del Oso Family Farm was founded in the 1920s by 3 brothers from Italy who started farming asparagus. But then in the 1950s, Susan's father-in-law, Rudy, started growing pumpkins.
And at that time, we were one of the 5 growers of pumpkins in this area. So there was 5 of us who basically grew all the pumpkins for the West Coast.
Pumpkins are still grown on Del Oso Farm today, but the family has shifted their focus to what they call agritourism.
We are one of the top agritourism operations in the nation.
The property is essentially a farming-themed amusement park that allows kids to learn and play with food grown right here in the valley.
Did you eat this at all? No? Pretty sour. You want to chew it for me? Okay. There you go!
There's more than 30 different activities on the farm, including a petting zoo, a carousel, and this rather strange-looking tube called a rat roller. Yeah, there's a little something for everyone.
From the corn maze at Del Oso Family Farm, I'm John Bartel. Hope to see you on the back roads. Where am I? Hello?
With each cup, bottle, and bag,
I normally add the beer and then just top it off with some more of the mix.
Jesse Hernandez and Genesis Soto don't just produce pre-packaged micheladas, chamoy candies, and margarita mixes.
This is the last thing we came out with was our gummies.
But also souvenirs of culture.
That just reminds you of home, of Mexico.
A reminder that started here. South Stockton's Fiesta Mexicana restaurant.
My mom and dad, they came from Mexico and they came to this country and they worked in the fields. My mom seen that the restaurant was, there was an opportunity to start a business. My mom was like, hey, let's go with it. Let's get the restaurant and we'll see how it goes.
34 years later, it's still going, but not without help from one entrepreneurial-minded employee.
I was 15 years old making over $150 in tips.
Eventually, after graduating from Edison High School, Jesse left the States to chase a goal, literally, playing soccer in Mexico.
Paid professionally, came back and I wasn't doing nothing for myself. So my mom bought a little vitrina. She told me, hey, what about if you start selling fruit? So I was like, you know what, that's kind of embarrassing.
Until he had a dream.
Somebody in my dream was like, hey dude, what about if somebody just made something that's convenient, anybody can make? So this is where the magic would happen, when we first started.
A simple pot that could make around 55 bottles of the lime, salt, and chili beer mix, just a few steps away from the first shelves that they would fly off of.
There was lines of people. I remember 15 to 20 people waiting in line to go get our famous michelada cups with ceviche. It was a great feeling. Musicians and stuff that would come and play their Mexican music and stuff, and it was just a party.
After nearly 2 years of weekend sales with the help of his then girlfriend Genesis,
He was making more every week, that it was just getting out of control.
it was time to step up the game by mass production. But with no investors, it was up to Jesse to get his product on store shelves.
I was in there not even selling a product, I was selling myself. So I would let him like, hey boss, please, I'm from Stockton, give me an opportunity.
A sales pitch that worked, landing his Michelada cups in hundreds of local stores.
What made us strong in the beginning was all the mom and pop stores that believed in us.
Hundreds turned into thousands, though.
Food for Less, Save Mart, Food Max, grocery outlet, cost less.
And now?
Our products have been into Atlanta, Arkansas, Washington, we're going to Oregon, and Utah.
Even as the reach grows, Jesse and Genesis don't forget their roots.
There's a screw right here that my brother actually screwed in, and we would put them in here, that way the tents wouldn't move.
Cemented literally in South Stockton.
I remember sometimes going to sleep, you hear gunshots, and it's like a normal. People getting broken into cars, people getting murdered. Genesis and myself, having no money, and we would come drive up here to Murata, and we would drive around all these beautiful homes. And we would say, one day we're gonna buy a house here, and we finally, 2 years ago, were able to purchase a home here. So I get a little bit emotional, because definitely it's a dream come true. So make sure you guys find your product at a store near you. We appreciate you guys.
In Stockton, Gabriel Porras, ABC10.
Well, the countdown is on. We're just 8 days away from the Sacramento Kings home opener.
Today, the Kings showcased their new menu items with local connections for the 2024-2025 season.
And ABC10's Devin Truby had the, shall we say, difficult job of trying the new creations this season. Take a look.
The Sacramento Kings are hungry for the 2024-2025 NBA season to start, and hopefully so are the fans. Golden One Center shaking up their menu this year with 8 new items and this King's cocktail in a collectible cup.
Let's rock and roll. So,
Executive Chef Brian Kuznicki introducing a Thai curry chicken bowl, chicken gyro, and porchetta sandwich.
bringing back the old great hits right here is the porchetta sound.
And even if the Kings lose, you can light the beam, but with a churro instead. Embracing the theme of home-cooked foods for a home court comfort with grilled ham and cheese, grilled cheese, and chocolate chip cookies.
But the classics, really, kind of that southern comfort feel, It's similar to how everyone feels when they come into the Golden One Center. So I'm trying to replicate that in our food.
Chef Kuznicki's favorite creation this year is the beef dip with au jus, featuring a roll baked in Davis at Village Bakery. But if you want your mouth to roar like Slamson, go for the new Cajun chicken sandwich. It's also John Reinhardt, president of business operations, favorite. Reinhardt says they're excited to have Farm to Fork take center court.
We have 90% of the food and beverage that we serve here comes from within 150 miles of Golden One Center.
After major success last year, the King's pop-up kitchen will return, giving local small businesses a chance to serve up their specialty.
It's really your time to shine and see what you got. I mean, if I were an inspiring chef, I would definitely encourage everyone to take a look and jump on it. It's a great opportunity to see what it takes and see how you fare with 17,000 hungry fans.
The Kings had the pop-up events last year at theme nights, including Black History Month, Lunar New Year, Women's Empowerment Night, and more. These new treats will be available at all home games and select Golden One Center events at the Plaza and Bridge levels. Reporting in Sacramento, Devin Truby, ABC 10.
Thank you so much for watching ABC 10 Plus this week. Remember, we're here 24/7 on the free ABC 10 Plus app. You can get your news and weather anytime, anywhere. I'm Laura Painter. See you next time.
An ABC 10 investigation. Some California lakes are dying.
It's caused massive fish kills, which then in turn cause other problems.
Fueled by a changing climate.
Unless we make some of these subtle changes, that in 10 or 20 years, our kids won't have the ability to change things back.
What's being done to stop the threat? The ABC 10 Weather Impact Team investigates California's dying lakes. A 4-part series starting at 10:30 after Monday Night Football and streaming on ABC 10 Plus.